It's GameFi Week here at CoinDesk, where we are diving deep into the business of Web3 games, the progress made, and the challenges that still exist in the sector. Joining me now is Leah Callon-Butler, the director of Emphasis, which is a Web3 advisory and investment firm. She's going to be discussing her article with us right now, Why I'm Still Investing in Web3 Gaming. Leah, nice to see you.
Great to see you, Jen.
I know the last time we saw each other, it was at Consensus. There was just crazy energy. You spoke to some folks, I believe, who were operating in Web3 gaming, and so did I. But I guess my first question is based on your article that's published on Coindesk.com. Why are you still investing in Web3 gaming?
Yeah, so this was a really interesting little opinion article for me to write. Ben Schiller, my editor, had suggested that I write something like this, which would kind of explain why I'm still so interested in the space. And when I went to write it, I wanted to do something forward-looking, and I felt like I really needed to actually kind of go back to the beginning, like why did we actually get into this space at all? And why it really captured our imagination around Web3 adoption in particular. And when I say we, I mean my business partner and I at Emphasis, Nathan Smale. So I guess, we really got into this space thinking that Web3 adoption would make the world a better place. But quite frankly, we'd spent years trying to get people to adopt things like, wallets, payments, remittances, and it was a hard slog. No matter how good the solution was, like people just saw it as clunky and nerdy and boring and really difficult to adopt and kind of like risky and scammy as well. Like it was really, really difficult to get anyone to convert to this space. And there was a pivotal moment when we actually moved to the Philippines in 2018. So you can probably tell by my accent, I'm Australian, so is Nathan, but we came to the Philippines in 2018. And we came up with this investment thesis that the Philippines was a place to look at in terms of crypto adoption because there were these factors really driving the place, making it somewhere kind of special. So, for example, it was a very young, digitally savvy population. People spoke English very, very well, and most of them were unbanked. So it's kind of like this pressure cooker that was great for crypto. Fast forward a couple of years to 2020, the adoption miracle that took place was Axie Infinity. Our thesis sort of proved true, but we just never thought that it was going to be a video game that actually, catalyzed this adoption miracle. So we keep coming back to that moment continually, like in terms of why this space is so interesting. And even though it looks very, very different now in terms of the landscape, there's many more games. I think the play to earn model has been scrutinized to the nth degree. It's a very different time now, but we continually keep coming back to that place of thinking that, Web3 games are going to deliver the greatest adoption with the biggest total addressable market without having to compromise on Web3 technologies in terms of like how difficult they may be to use.
Now, tell me this. Now, tell me this. On Markets Daily this morning, I spoke to a market analyst and we were talking a little bit about GameFi, and he said, not everybody needs to play a game or wants to play a game, but everybody needs to be able to use some sort of currency for payments. And that wasn't his exact quote. I'm not directly quoting him, but that was the gist of what he was saying. Talk to me in the context of that comment about why you think gaming is what's going to bring the next million or billion users into Web3.
Yeah, I used to think that way too. If you go back and look at earlier articles on my CoinDesk opinion column, it was all about payments and remittance. We really felt like this was the thing that was going to change the game for most people, particularly when it came to the Philippines, looking at remittance, which is essentially cross-border payments for people who have to leave their home country, they go overseas for work, and they send money home to their families who are in dire need of that money. Prior to crypto solutions, they might be paying, up to 30% fees on that money just to send it home to people who really need it. So the whole thing, and, you'll read lots of like World Economic Forum and UN reports about like, how important it is to make remittances in general faster and cheaper for people to send home. That was kind of the big thing that crypto asset backed remittances were meant to do. And I was like totally sold. But there was something that changed my mind when we started to see Axie Infinity take off in the Philippines. The remarkable thing that happened was that people treated these games as work. And before I go forward, I know that a lot of people really hate the idea of people treating video games like work, but that's what happened here. And people even started calling themselves Metaverse Filipino Workers, or MFWs, which is a play on the OFW, which is actually a really big part of Filipino culture. It stands for Overseas Filipino Worker. Basically meant that, like, for the first time ever, people would be able to stay at home in their home country, get access to legitimate work, earn good money, and never have to actually leave their family. It made me think that actually we've been solving the wrong problem. Like, we shouldn't be making it better for people to be able to send money home faster and cheaper. We should actually be trying to develop a Web3 economy, a truly decentralized global digital economy where people could participate no matter where they've been born or, what kind of family like they were born into. We really believed that Web3 could actually facilitate opportunities for people, in a way that wasn't possible before, that was truly equal. I guess like payments is only part of it. Now, when I look at games, I'm like, well, yeah, payments is actually something that is being incorporated within games. Like, if you look at Web3 games right now, the founders are exploring crazy combinations of Web3 native technologies. So you've got not just payments, but you've also got things like SBTs, like soulbound tokens, which are a type of NFT that's non-transferable, also tradable NFTs. You got DAOs, DeFi, like ERC 6551, which is a super interesting standard, which has turned NFTs into a wallet. There is no other corner of this industry where I have seen such wild experimentation with completely Web3 native technologies. So I guess now I'm a bit like, yeah, sure, everyone needs payments, but I have so moved on from that. Like, Web3 gaming is way more interesting.
Well, I think anyone who watches this show, and Leah, you know this too, I'm very bullish on Web3 gaming also. I think that it unlocks a lot of novel things in it, and we're building towards a really exciting future. But I got to ask you this. You mentioned a bunch of features that Web3 game developers are experimenting with now. You mentioned soulbound tokens, in-game economies, new types of wallets. These are all things that are kind of clunky and hard to use right now. And in my experience, a lot of Web3 natives are experimenting with it, but it's still difficult for the like Web2 gamer or that everyday person, that mainstream audience we're talking about, to hop in and interact with. When do you think the barriers and the challenges that come along with these experimentations are going to dissipate and the real mainstream audience will be welcome into these Web3 gaming ecosystems?
Yeah, so I get asked this a lot in terms of like, when can we expect Web3 gaming to, go parabolic? When is it going to be completely adopted mainstream? When are we going to see all of like the big gaming studios, Web2 gaming studios adopt this technology? Personally, I think we're still really early. That's what excites me about it, though, particularly in the space of things like fully on-chain games and autonomous worlds. They've been really deeply criticized for having very few users, being very slow, hard to use. Many of them haven't even shipped to mainnet. But for me, I kind of see it as the R&D sector of this industry, and it's what excites me most because these developers are really leaning into the question, why are we trying to combine Web3 with games at all? There was kind of this moment like in the last cycle where I think the play to earn craze really crashed. The sentiment went from euphoric to, oh my God, we hate play to earn. It's the worst thing in the world. And there was a new phrase that emerged, which was just make a great game. Like, stop trying
We
to.
all heard that. Like, just make a fun game. Once the game is fun, people are going to come.
Yeah, exactly. And I was just like, if you want to make a great game, go work in Web 2. I'm interested in how do we make a great Web3 game? Like, if we can't answer that question, then we shouldn't be doing it at all. And I guess that's kind of driven my thesis too around like, I don't really care if it's unusable and clunky. I don't want to bundle things under the hood and make them super easy until we've figured out whether they should be there. So yeah, I really enjoyed kind of exploring that corner of the space recently, which is tinkering around for the sake of it.
That's really interesting because so much of the conversation around mainstream adoption, not even only in the gaming sector, is that we need to abstract away the Web3 elements. We shouldn't be talking about the technology under the hood. We should just be talking the same way we speak about Web2 products and applications when we're speaking about Web3. It sounds like you think that that is different because of how early we are in the space. Is that right?
Yeah, and I guess it depends like where you're investing. I mean, I really love looking at game developers that are trying to push the boundaries and really reimagine why and how they're using these Web3 technologies in their games. And they can come up with, brand new token models for incentives. Like we've seen, Pixels basically invented or did invent play to airdrop, and that's become a huge meta, which every other game is following now, some better than others. But we are seeing people that are really kind of reinventing this approach to Web3 games and coming up with brand new stuff the world has never seen before. I guess in terms of usability, scalability, accessibility, I expect that to happen more on the infrastructure layer or a lot of the supporting services that are actually going to combine with these games to make them easier to use. So I think we've seen some great stuff like in the last even year or so around things like account abstraction, which is going to make seed phrase management so much easier, or session keys. So if you're trying to play a game and it's going to have a bunch of microtransactions, you don't have MetaMask popping up like literally every minute, which is so annoying. Or the scalability that we're seeing with L2s, and quite frankly, like there are so many L2s clamoring for a slice of this pie right now because they know that Web3 gaming is where you get the real, authentic, engaged users that actually know their way around these Web3 tools and aren't afraid to use it. So, that makes me extremely bullish on the space, that we've got a lot of different builders at different parts of the ecosystem working on different challenges. And if we see the whole bit come together, it's just going to be beautiful, I'm sure.
And Leah, lastly, as an investor in the space, how closely are you watching the development with crypto regulation in different regions? We just mentioned a bunch of different things, different kinds of rewards mechanisms, play to airdrop campaigns, games launching tokens on different layer twos. How closely are you watching these and looking at what regulators are saying about crypto and whether or not they're going to apply what they're saying to Web3 games?
Yeah, very closely actually. So before we got into Web3 gaming, Nathan and I at Emphasis, we were very much focused on crypto regulation. We even ran the V20 Summit, the inaugural V20 Summit in Osaka, Japan in 2019, which was all around the Financial Action Task Force handing down the travel rule to crypto operators. Boring. I won't bore you with it right now. But yeah, we've very much stayed close to that space because it really will shape the future of this industry. I think it's super interesting. I'll just take Asia because that's where I'm based and also the region that I am most bullish on and where I think you will see Web3 gaming delivered. But Asia is kind of mistaken as this like homogenous region a lot. It's like, I just need a go-to-market plan for Asia. But it's actually a real patchwork quilt of cultures, languages, and regulation. And we are seeing some forward-thinking jurisdictions, but they might be forward-thinking in terms of crypto from, say, an institutional standpoint and not, say, like a Web3 open metaverse gaming standpoint. One of the things that we look out for is that a lot of these jurisdictions will kind of chuck Web3 gaming in a gambling bucket, which is frustrating but not surprising because they don't really know how to treat it yet, and who knows how long it will take them to catch up. Places like Singapore and Japan have forward-thinking regulation, but the ones I think I would call out for Web3 and Web3 gaming specifically would be Hong Kong, I think too, like if you kind of look at a lot of Yatsu's stuff, they're based there. Animoca Brands is based there, and they've very much helped the local policymakers in terms of shaping how that's going to look in the future. And I think they kind of understand to a more sophisticated level the difference between standard crypto and things like NFTs, and what would be the utility in game of such a token that might carry a financial value, but maybe you own it because you love it and adore it, not because of its financial value, stuff like that. The other one that we're watching really closely is Korea, because I think Korea probably has some of the most hostile views toward crypto. And yet, if you look at the top, I think it's something like 8 out of 10 of the top Web2 gaming developers in Korea are all doing a Web3 gaming thing. So, that if that's not bullish, I don't know what is. Like, clearly they've seen the value in this industry and they're going to start building, and hopefully the regulation catches up. But it is very risky. So, I'm watching that space very, very closely. We're actually off to Korea Blockchain Week in September. So, I'm hoping that people won't shy away from that topic because it's an interesting one.
But yeah, we're going to have to wrap it there. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thanks for having me.